Welcome. No one is here yet. But as people roll in, and because we're going to record this and save it, I just want to welcome you to our live about the lovers and about the sixes. I'm Naomi from Sleepy House Healing, and one of my teachers, one of the people that I look up to so much, is visiting me this week, Vanessa from Come Full Circle.
Hey guys.
So we're spending eclipse season together, and it's been so wonderful.
Super special. Yeah. I think what really stands out to me about the experience is the ancestral lineage conversations and how important that is. And that's really supporting me right now as I'm like really reflecting on what I'm focusing on, what I'm sharing with others. And this is really just beautiful to be able to see you and how you connect with that. So it's been really beautiful, and to connect with Earth again in a different way. And I'm originally from Los Angeles, and born and raised and everything, and we have beautiful places there, but it's always nice to kind of get to know the rest of the country. So super, super grateful. Your family's been so loving and just so easy. It's just so easy.
I'm glad you feel that way. Yeah, so feel super blessed to have her here and for us to share a conversation. I'm going to wave hi to people. Hello.
Hey guys.
Hi.
Welcome.
We'll probably end up talking about dreams too. Who knows?
Oh. I'm always down for that.
It could
dreams,
happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been having funky dreams, I'm sure. A lot of people. I have.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Okay.
Last night was a zombie dream. Yeah. So I have funky dreams every night. But yeah, so the first thing is I just wanted to open it up for y'all to, when I say the lovers or the sixes of the tarot, if you have any preconceived notions or any words that just come to your mind when that card comes up, feel free to drop them in the chat, and also feel free to ask any questions for either of us. So every month on Patreon, I like to give a little educational video where I talk about a card and I talk about the numbers in the tarot for that like relate to that card. And so this month, this is what I'm doing and letting it be a little more interactive. And also, I think having Vanessa here to talk about the Lover's card and that energy is just perfect, because that's an energy that I feel like really strongly in our connection. When we first met, I actually attended her Dreamers Council, her Dream Circle. And I had been to Dream Circle before, and I'd felt, the mystical experience that can come with Dream Circles, but not like yours. Not anything like yours. With hers, it was like, oh wait, I'm like home with this. I really did. I felt at home. And it felt easy, but also I felt challenged, right? It wasn't easy in the way where I just could like chill, but it was like, oh wait, she was digging deeper. And really invited us all to do the same thing. And so that's really how, that's part of the sixes, I think, and part of the Lover's card energy. And I brought, I bought this really big deck a while ago. It's like comically large.
I love it.
Right? But, oh, hi. Nice to see you. But anyway, so this is the card. These are the cards that you see in movies, right? The Rider-Smith pack. It's the card most people are familiar with the lovers. And we brought it along, even though to my knowledge, neither of us really use this deck. Or do you use it?
Yeah.
You use it in your practice?
I still use it. Absolutely. Yeah. It's something that I started with. It's something that I and the school that I'm a part of would encourage our students to start with, because it's really foundational and you get to really know the foundation understanding of like symbology and what everything else really is stemming from, and being inspired, but artistically, and kind of taking the card into a different place, which I love. And I'm starting to move towards and outside of like this foundational piece. I'm actually in love with Anima Mundi. I hope I'm saying that right. I keep talking about it, but I love it because it has animals on it, and the way it communicates to me, it feels aligned to what resonates, like what is actually pulling out of my subconscious or my intuition as I'm reading it. So, so I love it, but I still love the images of this.
So when you're doing like client readings, do you use this one?
I used to. And then I would say within the last 6 months, I've been exploring others now.
Yeah. So I use this deck just for teaching, but in my personal practice, I don't use it. Maybe I need to get back in touch with it. Maybe I need to do that. But yeah, so I brought 2 other versions of the card, and I feel like the one from the Fountain Tarot, though I don't use this deck a whole lot, only because of the way it handles. Like, I love the imagery, but the way it handles, it's kind of like slippery. But this card, for me, this version, this imagery, is one that really illustrates kind of what I feel resonates for the lovers card, which is attunement. And we were talking about harmony, and that was the word that came up last night for the lovers card. Yeah. And even though that is like part of it, that's not a word that I've really done a lot of investigating with. So, and this is my life card. So it's the card that when you add up my birthday and, you know, reduce it down, this is the card that corresponds with my birthday. And so it doesn't matter how much I think I know this card. It's one that like continuously there's like more conversation. Yes. You know? Yes. And it's associated with Gemini. We're in Gemini season.
Gemini season, yes.
Yeah. So what comes up for you with the Lovers card?
Usually when I'm reading something for a client, to be honest, I don't get this card that often. I don't know what it is. But lately, I personally have been pulling, and it's been coming up. But mostly what I get is this better understanding of 2 different perspectives. And so I usually get like, are we focusing on what's right in front of us, or are we looking at the bigger picture? So it's kind of like, it tells me that, are those 2 things being harmonious with one another? Also like the higher consciousness, right? Which would be like our spirit guides, and things like that, or even our higher self, right? And how is that harmonizing with our self-conscious self and the subconscious self? And so I really, it seems more to me when I get it, it's like, how are we actually feeling within ourselves? I don't see it as something that is a partnership outside of ourselves. It's like the one within. Yeah. So that's how I view that.
Yeah. I think it's really rarely about romantic love. We were having that conversation yesterday. Yeah. Like, this is the card that in a movie, in like a, you know, one of those movies, like a romantic movie, this would be the card that you would get at the tarot reading or whatever. But really, this is not a sign. I don't ever see this as a sign of like, oh yeah, you should be with this person or whatever, you know? Like, people come with that preconceived notion, you know?
I mean, and I could see why.
Yeah, I mean,
I totally get that.
It does look like it, yeah. But I like that you said the higher consciousness, the higher self, because I feel like that's really, like, obviously represented here with the
Archangel Raphael.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't even know what that was.
Yeah, it's Archangel Raphael. Yeah. And Archangel Raphael is known commonly for being one of healing. You know, he's the one that you call to for healing. But in like Hermetic Kabbalah, he's also associated with the direction of east. So if you work with elements, the direction of east is connected to the element of air, and Gemini being an air sign. So those things kind of overlap with that imagery. But yeah, it serves as the higher consciousness, like the guides, the higher knowing of things.
Mm. Yeah, I haven't worked much with angels, so I love that that's part of your practice, because I'm like,
oh man,
I feel I'm so lost with angels, really. Yeah, and so we also have, I mean, the biblical, the Adam and Eve.
That's true.
Imagery with the snake and the apples. It's like, I look at this card so much, and then I'm sitting here like noticing things I've never really just thought about.
Can we go deeper with that?
Yeah,
I kind of
let's do it. Let's please go deeper.
So also, like the mountain in the back,
mm-hmm.
okay, being symbolic of the climb of our lives, right? Like how we're doing, how we would refer like the great work, you know, bettering ourselves, the self-development process of things, right? Every day we want to be better.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to be, how can I, you know, change these habits, these patterns, so on and so forth. And so we can kind of see as we do that work that can be the symbology here of the mountain itself, right? Mm-hmm. And then the female aspect and the male aspect, those two things also trying to work harmoniously. Mm-hmm. And so what I want to ask you, what do you think?
With the mountain?
Yeah, no, with like the male.
Oh, the male and female?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's like really, I was saying it last night, like I feel like this card is very genderqueer, right? It's like very non-binary.
Yeah.
Because really everyone has, we're all on like a spectrum, and especially, you know, as I kind of have this constant conversation with myself about my own gender and discovering whoever I am in that context, that really sticks out to me as, you know, not necessarily the same conversation everyone is having necessarily, but the same like kind of communication that we can have within ourselves. So it doesn't have to do with anybody external. And also the sun here too, being like, can you be seen not by others but by yourself? Can you really wake up to who you really are, you know?
I love that.
Like,
so much.
That's well, that's just what I've kind of you know, I think that this card also has that inner conflict too, of like, you know, because I see the mountain that way as well, like the climb of our life, but also just and I think that always we do have, like you were saying, like different, you know, how you were saying, like the super conscious and the self-conscious, you know, those things are always kind of at war, I feel like, you know? So yeah, it's harmonious. There is that element of like harmony, but also that element of conflict, of opposition too.
Yeah.
So I just brought some other, my other favorite deck, one that I do still use quite a bit. It's the Apparition Tarot from Mary Evans, who I love so much. And her version of this card is really wild to me. I mean, there are parts of it where I'm like, what was she saying? I don't know, but I love it. Even when I like look at the book, I don't really know why there's the cow, but I think it's really sweet.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
I want to like stare at it like really long so I can see.
So there's a lighthouse, there's a cow, there's two people, or there's two hands holding. We actually don't know if that's two different people or if that's a person, like, you know.
Oh.
Could they be holding their own hand? I don't know. There's a locket that's open, and there is a cup and a ladder. So the ladder in this kind of symbolizes, to me, I think that's like the mountain.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then I could see the lighthouse relating to the sun.
Right.
But as far as the cow...
yeah, I mean, what comes up for me is like cow being the symbology of like abundance and like fruition and like success in some way. Yeah. And so I don't know, perhaps if all of these function in harmony, then you can achieve this success or this ability to be the one that gives the self like this growth and expansion kind of a thing. That's what comes up for me.
Yeah.
Really... What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know about the cow. I don't
Yeah.
know, but I do notice the cow has like really like major udders. So yeah, I could see that being like pregnant, breastfeeding cow.
Yeah.
a mama cow.
She has babies.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's our take on the lovers. I mean, we can always go deeper too,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to also mention I have the other sixes out. And so the way that I see it, I kind of see the majors as like, the leader in a way of the the underlying energy, I'll put it that way, that's present in all of the sixes. So I don't know how you feel about that. Do you feel like that is in line with how you
Like
see
these
it?
are underneath this?
Right. Or no, more like the lovers is like the supporting energy that is
Oh, yeah,
in the...
I can see that. Yeah. As soon as you like even talked about having this chat when you did, I was like, oh my gosh, how did I not connect, right? Because the lovers card is the sixth member of the Major Arcana. And then we have the six. So the number 6 also connecting to harmony. The 6-sided, right? What did I say? The hexagon? Hopefully I have that right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of just feeling that connection. And I could also, most definitely see that this is what is maybe, and this energy is what's below the Major Arcana member, the lovers. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just curious if you, it's so funny. Every time I talk about, I feel like any card, I define more what I think about it too. But it's interesting to hear how, depending on where we learned and how we've worked with it, like how different, what new information I can get, like every reading really.
And you'll never stop learning. I mean, it's like this, that's the power of symbolism. Like if we want to talk about dreams, okay, or images and things like that, is that like, there's so many layers that come with all of that. And I think it's like whatever it is that comes through for you in the moment is what is the card's trying to tell you. It's not everything at once,
Right. So true.
Yeah.
Have you ever dreamed about a card?
Yes.
I had to ask. Well, because one of the cards that I've dreamt about is here, so I want to know yours too.
Oh.
I want to know yours too.
Should I say now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The moon card.
That makes sense though. In a way.
I mean, it was interesting circumstances, and it was right before a really big shift of really, because the moon card is like going into the unknown, right? And not being able to really see and have to rely on the intuition and even just experience, right? Being really helpful. And that was exactly what I needed to do in that next phase, was like I was going to go into kind of dark territory emotionally and even someone else's stuff, and I had to use my intuition, and based on that my guides were really showing me what to do and how to navigate through there, which again is your intuition too, right? Your guides kind of work through that space. So that's what it was, and they just showed the card appearing like this, and I could see exactly written the moon and like the imagery, and I was walking in darkness too when the card appeared. It was super powerful, and thank you guys, 'cause that was so helpful.
They'll show you what you need to see, whether you're reaching for your deck or not. Like that's so true. So a couple of years ago, I don't even know when this was at this point, the 6 of Cups just kept showing up. It kept showing up. It was actually the year I started reading for other people. It kept showing up, and I was just like, here's the 6 of Cups for reference, in case you haven't seen it or worked with it. The 6 of Cups, this card just would not leave me alone, and a lot of people's associations with this card is really pretty sweet. And so the fact that it would not leave me alone, I mean, I got really, like, pissed, If you ever have had that experience where you're, like, with your guides just kind of like, what the fuck? Like, can you, like, leave me alone, like I'm trying, like what am I missing? And I got really, I had a tantrum, and that's fine. I feel like that happens,
Yeah.
But at the time, I wasn't actually allowing myself to like fully have that tantrum, throw the fit that I kind of needed to with myself. But yeah, so the Six of Cups kept coming up, and it came up in a dream. And in the dream, it was basically, I was just being told that, like, you're not missing anything, actually. Just be here, be present, like, have fun, like, stop stress. Like, I was beating myself over the head with, like, trying to figure out what it was. And it was like, just be with it. Just know that, like, this is, like, a friend showing up for you, not, like, it's not, like, a to-do list,
Right.
Like,
yes.
that's what my brain, like, my ego kept telling me, like, you're missing something, gotta do something. Like, I wanted to be busy, like,
Yes.
we're having that conversation, like, how our brains want to give us, like, all this work. But yeah, and so finally, now when I see it, I don't feel that anymore. I just, ever since having that dream, it was just that message of, like, no, actually, you're good. You don't have to, it was like, go outside, like go outside, like, spend time with your child, like, stop, like, stressing yourself over, what this is meant to be, and just be with it, so.
Yeah, I could see that in the card. For me, the card is and really all the sixes are a phase when it appears is you've gotten out of a challenge. So it is time to kind of just hang out. There's nothing else to do. You've overcome something. But the Six of Cups itself is harmonious because you can see that someone has left the scene while these two are kind of, okay, great, now we can come together and celebrate or just enjoy one another in a sense,
Yeah.
And so I see that, if you guys want to see that again. But really, notice that there's an individual walking out of the scene in the back, and there's these two kids, I guess, young, right?
Yeah.
And it saying something has left, and that may have been a hindrance. Now it's time to enjoy. Yeah, so that's what I would get to. It's really, really similar, but can also sometimes be a reunion is usually what I get. There's a reunion of sorts that's happening, that maybe something needed to leave in order for that reunion to really happen. So yeah, Six of Cups. How about you guys? Any questions?
Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in. I'm just going to check and see if there's anything here. So the last time I had a conversation, I was on a podcast like more than a year ago now, where we pulled a card and it was the Six of Cups, and I'm like, of course, like I wasn't still in that, but I was still kind of like getting over myself as far as like, yeah, I keep getting this card, like I'm supposed to know what this means and I don't, whatever. So at the time I was really getting started with flower essences, and I noticed in this card how flower essences, there's these cups with flowers in them, and how that really related. And part of what makes a flower essence so wonderful and what makes it medicine is presence. It's the vibrational medicine. It's not something where you're trying to like distill anything or like get the properties of the plant in the liquid. It's not like that. It's more about being present and available and open, right? And so I was working with flower essences and then also there was this other story, right, where I was like beating myself up for not, being available for whatever the Six of Cups was trying to tell me, and it kind of came full circle, literally, when it was like, no, it's to just be present, to be here. And so sometimes when this card comes up too, I think about like kindergarten rules for friendship, how you can just kind of like imprint on each other and share a moment where it's not in a way that it's not deep, right? But where you're just, there's like, you're open and accepting of like whoever that person is for for that playtime.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Maybe everybody's kindergarten experience is the same as mine, but I just remember making a friend like everywhere, and you know, we could like take over the world. So that's what I see here too, and I hear people talk about how, you know, they see it as like nostalgia, and I get that a little bit with this card, but I think for me, like personally, I get that just because my childhood was very like plant based, and like I was mostly alone, but when I did invite someone over or got to have a friend over, that's what we were doing. We were in the yard, you know, and so it's like literally nostalgic for me in that kind of reminder, but when it comes up in a reading, that's not really what I get for it most of the time. But I mean, I understand that interpretation too. Yeah. So here's 2 other versions of the Six of Cups, just so you can see. This is Mary Evans' version in the Apparition Tarot, and I love this deck because it's got fairies on it. You know, it's very like, I don't know, it feels a lot like the best parts of childhood. So yeah, it seems to me too, just the many hands like holding like emotional space in that time. So you can also be in this energy alone. It's not necessarily this external thing.
Right. Yeah, right? That's true. Yeah.
And I feel that for all the cards really, that none of them say another person has to be involved.
No.
So I think that's something that it takes a while to unlearn, because that's like one of the, I don't know, the misconceptions or the preconceived notions.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And plus the imagery, right? You're like, there's
2 people,
so there must be another person. But, yeah, and then on just this card right here you were just showing, it's also like the colors of the rainbow, although it's a really colorful deck, I'm noticing. But that being also, to me, something about harmony and having all those things come together. So sweet.
It is. It's a sweet card. It's one of my favorites. I'm back at like, now when I see it, I'm like, oh yeah. You know, instead of, what am I missing? Nothing, actually. So, are you feeling like Six of Wands, or do we want to talk about Six of Swords?
Why don't? Yeah, let's go Six of Wands.
Yeah,
let's talk about that. So, Six of Wands, we could start with the imagery here. Yeah. Right? And I invite you guys to kind of see what comes up for you before we even talk about it. What stands out to you here, even if it's just a color or a shape. But for me, this card is a winning of like a power struggle. It's like, okay, all of the, and again, power, because the wands are that fire element, and so it's more of like that, man, okay, I've either been challenged by someone else or I've been challenging myself. You know, it could be like an ego thing. For me, it's kind of that thing too. But overcoming that and just kind of like, okay, now I can kind of move on, or not really move on, but rejoice. It's still that celebration, just like in this, it would be like enjoying. This is also like, let's celebrate the win of like winning whatever that power, again, struggle is. What is it like for you?
So I see it, I do see that like succeeding, right? Because we see this person who's like, it feels like they're like, it's like a homecoming is how I see it. It's like coming home and being celebrated like after a battle. Like that's kind of what I see here. Yeah. And just the wands. I will admit though that the wands are the hardest suit for me to pin down. I think I'm alone, and maybe I'm not alone in that, but I've always felt that was a harder one for me.
That's interesting. Yeah. The swords are difficult for me to pin down.
Really? That's so funny. So swords and pentacles, I'm like, I got this. Cups and the wands, that's the one that has taken me.
Because those
Those are the ones that you're good at. Okay, well, see, that's, you know.
Like I feel,
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's so funny because usually when I ask people, the pentacles are the ones that are hard for them because they connect it with cash. Like, literally, they connect it with money. And that's usually never what it means for me, like, ever. Usually, it's just about resources more. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself talking about the card that's easier for me. No, but so I also think of it, too, as, like, being witnessed, right? But in a way that is, like, positive, not necessarily not in the I'm feeling very perceived way, but in the, like, oh, being witnessed in your glory. Or even, and this is, again, something you can do, like, it's an invitation with yourself too, to like celebrate a win, even if it's something that's like, I got out of bed, because when you're really, you know, if you're really struggling, that can be cause for celebration for sure. And we forget that, you know? So yeah, I kind of see it as like a homecoming and as a, like, being witnessed and being held by, in I don't know. I think that spiritually doesn't even really cover it. It's like, I don't know. I don't want to say deep.
Because it could be like an ego tugging thing too. It's like, because sometimes, I don't know, I might be going a little deep, but I'm going to let myself go.
Let yourself go.
But, you know, like when you're in an power, like let's say it's at work, right? And you have this power struggle that's occurring there. And sometimes winning is stepping away. You know, you don't have to continue fighting if it's not really necessary, right? It takes more energy to do that than to actually walk away. And I kind of see, like, if this card was for you, it'd be like, I walked away and I actually did end up winning. I could celebrate that. To not have to go into this power struggle when it doesn't even really matter.
It's like taking the high road.
Yes.
Like, but
it's taking the high
on your
road,
own terms.
And that is a win.
Yeah.
That can be a win too.
I like that.
You know?
I really like that. So this version from the Fountain Tarot, I feel like it is so, like, it's so weird to me. I'm like, what is this saying? It's like a person who, it looks like they're like, they don't look like they're in a place of like celebration or in a place of, they look like they're still like struggling. So, and it's interesting too. I mean, it kind of illustrates your point of like the Rider-Waite pack being like foundational, because everything is based on it. And then other people have in different interpretations that like, this doesn't really fall in line with how I see it at all.
Yeah.
Because to me, it looks like a person who's, like, being crushed under, like, still dealing with, you know.
Or maybe what I was thinking, too, was, like, oh, now I can just rest. And celebrate a little bit. I don't know why.
He is smiling.
He's smiling
while he's getting crushed.
Like, I don't need to do anything else. I can just lay here and rest and keep my wand up and just, yes, I did it. Now I can just enjoy this victory.
Like he's just run a marathon.
Yes! He just ran a marathon.
Yeah. And I love this deck too, but you know, I feel like every deck though, there's at least a few cards where you're just like, this isn't really, I don't know.
Yeah. I feel that way about the Thoth deck.
Yeah.
I mean, people love it. I think the art is fantastic, but it's just like, I'm not quite there yet.
I've never even touched it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because it's never spoken to. Yeah, so I'm just like, I don't know. Also, I tend to gravitate away from decks that have a word on them that tells you, like, how to feel.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
No, unless it's an oracle card.
Yeah.
Then I'm not, but the tarot, yes.
Yeah.
I don't like that either. Yeah. Unless it's the, Major Arcana, and then clearly there's words. But...
Right, there's those, but yeah.
I
don't know. And some people snip them off and just move on, but I'm afraid to ever.
Really?
I don't alter decks. I'm way too afraid. But anyway, here's Mary Evans' version. So we have like, it seems like, like an audience clapping rainbow for this little choir of wands. It's really cute. I imagine them as like little kids, like in a choir, like standing up.
Yeah.
Cute.
Yeah. That really makes me happy. Like this is like, yes, I did it, but this is like,
yeah.
Like you're blowing out the candles on your birthday
yeah.
or something.
It is like that. No, it is like that.
I love that.
I've never thought of it with a birthday cake, but now I see it.
Because that's an accomplishment too, you know? It's like, okay, I made it past that,
yeah.
that year or whatever.
That really is too part of like what I like about this deck is that there's not a whole lot of people in it, and the people are like rainbow, like like green and blue, and yeah, it's I like so that. Much. I like that because a lot of my favorite decks, it's like, man, the one problem with this is that everybody is skinny and white, and that's not really what I want to read with, you know? That's like the main thing that like hangs me up. But and my main deck, Pagan Otherworlds, their Lover's card is the one card in the deck but I'm just kind of like, you know? It's still similar imagery with the Adam and Eve, but yeah, every other card in there I'm like so into it, but that's the one that I'm just like, I don't know about this. It's not my favorite. Maybe I just need to talk to it more. It's a new to me deck.
Yeah, could be a meditation thing, you know?
Right.
Yeah, and see what it tells you.
All right.
Yeah,
Six of coins, yes, Six of Pentacles.
Yeah.
So this this card, the Six of Pentacles or Six of Coins, there's a person, there's some scales, and it looks like, I mean, there's two people receiving and one person giving. And really there's a lot of ways that you can go with this, because when I really, without investigating too deeply, what I feel with this is like, oh, well, someone who is in a place of power, or someone is like getting an ego boost, getting an ego boost from being able to give, right? So that's my older interpretation. What I typically would feel is like, are you giving out of wanting to give? Or are you giving out of like feeling important? Like, why are you doing this? Why are you giving this? And just in my last circle that I had, because I do a circle every Thursday night, and it's so amazing. One of y'all, I don't know if you're here, so I won't call you out, but one of y'all who is always challenging me and just being amazing, she was like, I want to make sure when I'm giving readings, I'm not doing it so I feel good, so I feel validated. And I was like, I was like, really cool that you see that early on, because that is kind of one of those ego traps that we do kind of have to, I mean, maybe all readers don't have to think about it or don't deal with that, but I think it's human, right? So anyway, this card, to me now, I see it more as reciprocity. So giving and receiving, but not necessarily giving so you can get something in return, and not feeling, not about feeling so much, but not beating yourself up too much when you are in a position of receiving. You are just as powerful when you are receiving as when you're giving. And that's something that took me a while to like personally like deal with. I'm very comfortable giving, not very comfortable receiving. No. I don't like that. Like what, you know?
Okay, I have to admit that I am the opposite.
I know. We've talked about it a little bit.
Yeah.
We've talked about it a little bit.
I don't really talk about it, but you know. You're my buddy, so but yeah, for me, that's also something I'm working on, and I think I'm actually growing and being more giving, and for me, discovering that has a lot to do with just not feeling like everyone is safe to share with. And will I get at least the same in return? It's like that concern of not opening yourself up completely. It's like the opposite, you know? So, for this card, I do see it as something that, again, an overcoming of a challenge of some kind, but that being really important, that you overcame a challenge with giving, right? Or having, right? And that being also like, okay, I had a challenge. Let's just keep it simple. If it was something about money, because this could also be just your own energy, right? Because we're talking about the self, because, right, it's the element of earth, and so the body is kind of in that aspect, right? So giving yourself over to others, this could be it, but very importantly is that the challenge has shown you how to do it with within balance. And that being like the balance itself, the, what are we calling it? Oh my God. My brain.
The scales?
The scales, thank you. Like the scales being a representation of like, okay, I went through that challenge and now I understand that there is a way to give more, but in a way that doesn't need to be depleting. And so that's kind of how I see this card, is like, okay, I did learn. Him being like wearing something that is perhaps fancier is, you know, to me it's okay, because that shows that I've done something that made me be able to get this, because I'm worth having it. Let me now share that with you. What do you need to get here as well? So for me, that's now what it really represents, and I find a lot. But early on, it was a little bit of like, well, why are these people kneeling? And why is he standing? And is he really like better than them? Kind of that energy. But what changed it for me was the scales itself, you know? The scales being something that tells me, oh no, but he's keeping that in mind. To do it
They would do this for me if I were in that position, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I think of this phrase, that community is our only insurance policy. That is the phrase. But when I see this, that's what I see. Like that, you know, in my community, at least I feel that, where when one person is like in need, or, you know, everybody needs to like help them, boost them, like help them, you know, get resources or get their needs met. Yeah. We come together and we do that. And so then when it's me, I don't feel like, oh, you know, it's like, it's the opposite of charity, right? It's actual reciprocity. Yeah. And so I think about how in our systems, right, like in our institutions, we don't really have that fallback, at least not here. Yeah. And so we have that with each other. And so, I don't know. That's what comes up for me sometimes too. I love it. Yeah.
These are all really great cards.
This card, though, has been talking to me for a while also. I mean, all the sixes, but I understand why people get stuck with it being like money specifically, because pentacles and coins, right? Coins, it's money, right? But what money really represents, what the coins and the pentacles represent, for me, it's our resources, our body, our land, our physical world. It's our stuff, which isn't to say it's shallow or it's surface, right? Because when I look at the pentacle, I think of all 5 elements, right? Including spirit. So it's our connection to spirit through our stuff, including our body, right? Our spiritual home.
Yes.
You know? So that's kind of that.
Yeah, the body and the energy that comes from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then like the time too.
Time.
That's something also that's very much earth related. You know, it's to have to be here now is like, that gives you access to time, right? And so sharing that and giving that to someone else, I think, is also part of that earth coin aspect.
Yeah, some decks have it as a clock. So that, yeah.
Wow.
I wish I brought that deck out. Yeah, the Victoria Regina Tarot has them as clocks. And what I love about that deck, too, is that they have the wands as pens. Some decks have the swords as pens, and I understand because words, communication. Yes. But in the way that we are, actually that deck that has the wands as pens helped me realize what wands are really about, which is that it's like us writing our own story. It's our path. Like our soul's path is how I feel more about the wands now. Yeah.
We learn something every day.
So from the Fountain Tarot, this is the 6 of coins. Duh. We're talking about the 6s. I had to like check. Anyway. And the 6 of Pentacles from the Apparition Tarot. And yeah, so it's like, I really love in her depiction here, we have 2 hands with just, nobody, I like how here it's like there is more equality, it seems like, right? Because nobody looks any different. It's just like 2 different, indistinct, is that the right word? Unremarkable, just hands that look the same, right? Sharing, like, here again, though, it's coins. So I do get why people associated with money, and it can mean money because money is a resource.
Yeah, but it takes time to make money, right?
Right. And our energy is a resource.
Yeah. Right? Doing the job, getting the job done. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Here we go. Challenging card for me now.
It's okay. No. I like that though. I mean, it's good.
I mean,
because
yeah. It just is. But I'm gonna just go for it.
I mean, you can't. The thing is, you can't be wrong. Like that's the good thing.
It's just, it is a challenging card because I feel. Well, let me just show everyone. So this is the Six of Swords, right? So we can see here that there are 3 individuals. You can maybe look at that as a family or not, but they are a community, if you want to say, and they're on a boat. And they're rowing away from something. And for me, as you can notice, there's like waves on one side and no waves on the other. And this card screams like moving on. But really, like out of just also being disappointed of having to move on. So it doesn't really feel celebratory. Mm-hmm. It might be also for me what I get is like the combination of like, I know there's something better for me. Mm-hmm. And so I have to let this go to move into maybe my truer self, my better self, my authentic self, or just a better option, right? So, and so with that being element of air, I'm getting, like I do get with this card that it has to do with being honest about something, right? And honesty being an activity of communication, like talking and being honest. And the result of that is freedom, which, also can be looked at moving forward, moving away, but really towards something. So that's how I view this.
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree that it's not like the rest of the sixes are they are celebratory. I get that even with the Six of Pentacles, that there's at least like, needs are being met, relief. But here, I really see it as the war might be over, or we're moving away from this battle, this like disruption or even abuse, whatever it is, this negative shit we're going through, right? But our guard is still up. Our knives are still up. My mind hasn't really unwound from that like trauma or whatever, I say whatever. It typically, I find that it does come up after relationships end or difficult things, where it is just about you, but this one does have to do with external people because it's your armor that you still have on. You can't really like relax just yet.
Yeah.
And what I also notice about this card too, I mean, I just think I look at this how I look at like myself, my family, my life, and I see a child and a mom, right? So it's like this person, this mom, in my view, right? This person is not just worried about themselves, but they're worried about their kid. So that pressure is still there. Like, where are we going? What is even there? Is there anything even there? And we don't see the end or the beginning of the boat either. I notice, right? So we don't know the timeline, at least not from this card. Yeah. It's like, when am I...
Yeah, how far from the shore are they? Either side, right?
It looks really far away to me from this, with this. But there are trees, yeah. So that's what I think of. And the version in the Fountain Tarot, it's a really similar version, but... well, I guess that's like a kayak. I only really see one person in this version, but it's still, maybe those are the swords. Yeah, they're here. They're under the boat, right?
They're pushing the boat, if you will. They're actually directing where the boat is going.
Forever, I was seeing this as like a boat where some water was getting in. Did you ever do that where you're like just kind of like flipping through? Because I don't read with this one too often or ever, really. So I misread it. but really though, I feel like that's still information.
No, yeah, because it's whatever the moment wants calling to know. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then in the Apparition Tarot, we have like, it's an altar with swords all around. So it's like guarding the sacred, right? Guarding the child in the traditional deck, right? And then all around it, there's the swords, the brain stuff, the words, the story that we have around it. That either, you know, I feel like we get a choice from there, you know, how we can move forward. But yeah, I love the Apparition Tarot where it's like an altar, or at least that's how I see it, right?
Yeah. I'm seeing altar.
I mean, it's definitely an altar. It's got like candles and everything.
Candles,
Yeah.
Herbs,
Mm-hmm.
a cup, or a chalice, right? A mirror, which is really interesting, or perhaps a photo, but whatever is popping out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then how the hands are kind of like directing and pushing out into the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Like doing a ritual to like push yourself forward. Like how I'm healing this, right? So I like that depiction too, because in this one, I mean, still I get a sense that we're not celebrating yet, but we are going towards healing.
Yeah. Yeah, again, it's like a bittersweet circumstance. Like, I am leaving something behind. It was challenging, but it wasn't serving me anymore. I'm honest with myself, and I need to now move forward.
Yeah.
Or, I know what you're saying, maybe moving back to something.
Right?
It could be because you're right. You can't see the front or the back of the boat.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Right? Maybe we have to go back to something else. But it's still moving forward, right? Because you're moving away from something. So
they could be going to grandma's house.
That is going back. That's going back home.
Right. Which is a whole different set of swords, right?
Yes.
A whole different story.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. I feel like that's relatable for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So anyway, we have talked quite a while. Are you feeling like?
I feel good. I just want to be sure no one else has any questions. Really loved chiming in, being here, talking about all this stuff with you, Naomi. And being able to look at the other decks too, which was really, really nice. And that's something I encourage people to do too, even myself. Like, get to know other decks, you know, because there's so much more you can get from the meaning of that card when you get it from a different artist, you know, and their perspective.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And just having having conversations. So yeah. Like this one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for being with us, guys.
Thank y'all. We're going to scoot. But yeah, I'm going to save this, and Vanessa's going to have it on her Instagram. I'm going to put it on Patreon as a public post so anybody can watch us gab.
I'll probably put it on my YouTube channel too, but I'll promote on my IG, let you guys know where you can find it.
Yes. And please check out Vanessa's Dream Circle. Because that's what brought me it's what brought you here to my house now. Because I attended your Dream Circle and I really felt just like, I don't know, it's hard to even fully describe just how I felt seen, you know, and held in a really special way. And I just can't encourage y'all enough to check out her work. And yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right, bye guys.
Oh, how do I end? Yay.